What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of NJ Healthy Heat, the podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Pure Rush Shades. Use code NJHH10 for a 10% discount. They're a locally owned in New Jersey shades company, sunglasses company. If you're a parent or a player who's constantly losing their sunglasses like I am, go ahead and get them. They're a great value for a great price, and I promise you they look really, really good as well. This week, right now, we've got Ryan Ramiz, fellow friend of mine, fellow professional baseball player, and now turned Seton Hall coach. He's also played at Seton Hall where he was drafted. So we're going to get a really unique perspective from somebody who's played there, walked in the shoes as an athlete, and now is a coach there who is currently, recruiting players, working with the outfielders as well as the hitters. So really excited to dive into this for those that are interested in Seton Hall. Ryan, like I mentioned, you're a player there. Now you're a coach. Like, walk us through what it's like to go through that full 360, landscape view of being the player who's getting recruited to 4 years there to now you're coaching. Did you do 4 years? I didn't even know.
Yeah, I did. I did
3. Okay. Couldn't get out in 3. That's $100,000 worth of missed opportunities.
No, it's awesome, man. It's kind of like you said, a full circle moment. We actually have 3 of us on staff, all same kind of thing. So went here, Coach Shep, our head coach, his dad was the coach here for 30 years, I think, something like that, a long time. Now he's been the head coach for the last 25 years, I think he's coming on. Our associate head coach, Giuseppe Papaccio, went here. He was an All-American draft pick, came back. He's obviously our associate head coach now, and then me. And even our pitching coach, Jimmy Moran, he played in the Big East. He has family ties up here. His dad was a scout for a lot of years, so he has Seton Hall ties and stuff like that. So it's a very close-knit sort of program in terms of guys who have played here, like you said, kind of went through the full student-athlete experience, and now we're trying to give that back, our good experience here as a player, as a student. We're helping kids kind of relive that, I guess. So it's been awesome coming back, and obviously anytime you work for the place you went and stuff like that, you want to do well because you had success here as a player and as a team and stuff, and you just want to keep that tradition going. Especially here, like we have a very tradition heavy program. Really, really awesome players have played here and stuff. So we're just trying to continue that on.
Yeah, I think I knew that about both of the coaches, but then it didn't register in my brain until you said that you guys have 3 guys who have played there and now are coaching there. I mean, that's got to do wonders for the ability to recruit. You're not just talking out of your, ass. You're actually somebody who's gone through it and, can really say with confidence, like, what the experience is going to be like. And that's got to do such great things on the recruiting side. So that's awesome. I got a quick question.
Yeah. Sure.
What is an associate head coach? Like, what is the difference between that and like the head coach? Like, I guess I don't really.
I guess because he's kind of recruiting, like maybe a different term for recruiting coordinator and stuff like that. We've always kind of had that title. I think even when I played here, pitching coach Phil Candari, he was the associate head coach. He's now with the Phillies. He's in the AAA Lehigh Valley. He's their pitching coach and stuff. So he's making his way through pro ball now. But he was the associate head coach, and now Giuseppe's associate head coach. So I think it's just a term for that sort of recruiting coordinator type level of overseeing the assistants and stuff like that.
Definitely. Cool. Just wanted to know. I know some guys. Of mine, they're friends of mine who are associate head coach, and like I guess it's probably dependent on what program you're in. For them, it's like they're just like next in line to take over. I think they've got an older coach who's kind of weaning themselves out. They're kind of an understudy, and then the moment that they retire, like boom, they're just stepping right in. So I was just curious on like what that whole role looked like.
There's a lot of different titles these days in college baseball. There's some staffs that have. You go down the website, like 12 guys deep with different titles and stuff like that. So
definitely. Well, speaking of titles, so speaking of titles, you're the assistant coach over there. Why don't you give us kind of a quick rundown on what it is that you handle and how you kind of infuse your own self into the organization, I guess, program?
Yeah, so you touched on it in the intro a little bit. I work with all the outfielders. I was an outfielder, so defensively, I work with all the outfielders every day. I assist with the hitting. So Giuseppe is kind of the hitting guy, and I assist him with all of our hitters and offense. And then kind of a lot of stuff behind the scenes, or well, I guess recruiting's not really behind the scenes, but I assist with recruiting. So I'm out on the road. Helping with visits and stuff like that when we have kids on campus, touring them around. And then I guess the behind the scenes work, kind of office kind of work, in charge of kind of putting together a lot of our camps, prospect camps, team camps that we have on campus, which is huge for us being kind of that mid-major program in the Northeast. You got to kind of go heavy on camps to get kids on campus and stuff like that. And then game day type things, defensively, sort of shifting guys over, maybe making a defensive card based on their lineup that you see, especially in pro ball and stuff now. You guys always have those cards that they look at, oh, this guy's a pull guy and stuff. So I'll help with that. Scatter reports on other team pitchers. I go heavy into that with Giuseppe. So if he, playing a weekend series against St. John's, they have 12 guys on their pitching roster. We'll sort of split it up. He'll take 6 or 7 guys. I'll take a couple guys, and we'll go heavy on a scatter report for those guys. And just kind of office baseball type stuff in general that I guess maybe kids or parents don't realize go into this. It's not just about, showing up and throwing BP or flipping on the machine every day and working with guys hitting, which obviously that is like, a huge 80% of our job is making sure our guys are good baseball players. But there's a lot of little things that go behind the scenes too that maybe people don't realize or know about. So.
No, definitely, man. If coaching baseball was just about throwing BP, I would not be in the game. My BP, for the kids that I've coached, it's very subpar. I went from trying to get guys out all the time to like, all right, now I'm trying to let them hit homers and piece up balls as best as I can. I just cannot find. What's your BP game like? You got it pretty dialed in there.
I'm
you a guy that the guys like to hit, or you?
I've gotten better. I can have that.
It's an art.
That lefty.
It's not good.
OF outfield kind of arm action that I've had to kind of like tighten up a little bit.
I wouldn't have liked you. So as a lefty hitter, I would not have wanted you to be throwing me BP.
Yeah, when I first started, it was rough, and now it's steadily progressed over the years. But as with kind of all levels of baseball nowadays too, there's so much machine work that goes into day-to-day hitting and stuff like that too. So
I mean, what's your thoughts on machine work while we're here? Like I'm a big fan and believer of it. As a kid, I didn't like it. I didn't understand the value of it. I didn't understand what its purpose was and how it really helped me. It just didn't produce like a quote unquote groove swing, but it challenged me. And I've kind of shied away from that early in my career. But now I'm like, wow, I really see the benefits of cranking that thing up, having it throw nasty sliders. And like, the kid might come out of the cage really pissed and, hey, I'm not able to barrel balls up. It's like, well, that's kind of the purpose of this. And then now we're going to, go into the game and be able to, compete a little bit better than just Jimmy throwing, 40 mile an hour flips at you. I wouldn't even say 40 to 30 mile an hour flips at you. So what are your thoughts on machine work and how do you guys use them over at Seton Hall?
No, for sure. We use it every day in some capacity. And I think I was kind of the same way as you. When I was younger, I didn't really love it or get it. And maybe that was because it wasn't as prevalent as it is nowadays. Like, not every facility had 10 hack attacks to use and stuff back, even just, it's recent 10 years ago that we were, in high school and stuff like that. So we use it every day, like you said, whether we have 2 machines going for fastballs and curveballs, or maybe we have arm throwing BP, but we got heavy fastballs in the cage off the machine or slider, something. Every day we're doing something off the machine just because, like you said, it's so game-like. Like you don't get 72 mile an hour true sliders off someone who's trying to, even if you're trying to throw like mixed BP or something, it's not going to be the same.
And if it
So
is that guy's arm, he's only got probably 100 throws in there a
right,
day. That
we'll see
machine's
him
ready to
2 weeks from
go.
then. So
Yeah.
yeah, we do that stuff every day. It's so important.
What's your favorite drill that y'all use the machines for? I've seen a couple, I think, right off the top of my head. I've seen some really, really good ones. I saw Michigan post one the other day, and they've got like the really, really tall legs on their hack attack machines, and they go really high up to really simulate like where that ball's coming out of an arm slot. Because I think most of the
Right.
machines you'll set up right down the middle. Kids will put it right down the middle, and like, yeah, the ball's coming in, but that's not as realistic as you can make it. And I think the higher up you go, the more that like you get deeper into the details. And I think that's one of the details that I've seen that I really liked was getting the machine higher and then having it come out of different arm slots and then having two breaking balls coming out of left-handed and right-handed breaking ball slots. I thought that
Yeah.
was super, super interesting.
We do one where we'll actually set up 2 machines next to each other, and it's kind of like mixed BP, but off a machine. So like extremely game like, where one is a fastball, just say throwing 88, and the other one's a curveball or slider. And me or whoever's feeding the machine will actually have 2 balls in our hand, and it's like 3, 2, 1, and you got to be on time for that fastball and adjust when curveball comes out. So you don't know what's coming. It's really game like. You see guys like struggle, but
Yeah.
rightfully so when a pitcher is throwing out there and he doesn't know what you don't know as a hitter what's coming. That's as game like as it gets, right? So we kind of incorporate that. We don't do that, every day, for instance, but every once in a while we'll do sort of that mixed BP with 2 machines like that, and it really, really forces guys to get their timing down, like I said, for fastballs, adjust to the sliders, and kind of just make it as game like as they can.
Yeah. So staying in the same vein of hitting and kind of what y'all work on, how would you describe, I guess, like y'all's hitting philosophy? Like what's the overall goal that y'all are trying to do? Obviously each year we know it's dependent on what type of players you get in. One year you've got a big bopper who can leave the yard 20 times, and another year you might have, the highest guy on your team have 12, and now you're trying to, hit and run more slash bunt, whatever it may be. Like what would you say overall y'all's philosophy is and what you're trying to accomplish over there?
Yeah, I think Seton Hall, for as long as I've known, we've always been kind of a team that relies on speed, being dynamic, and I think we've kind of taken the approach. We want to lead the Big East, the league, in extra base hits, balls hit on a line over opposite side infielder's head, because you've been to our field. It's pretty big in the gaps,
Yeah.
at least. So, um, not having a guy go up there like, oh, I'm going to try to hit 20 this year. We want guys who are going to be like, I'm going to hit doubles and triples every day at this field. I'm just going to hit a liner over the shortstop's head or the second baseman's head and just run forever. So I think that's kind of a philosophy we've taken, is just that like doubles height, we call it, hitting over an infielder's head and just running and using multiple offense as best we can. So stealing bases, putting pressure on defensives and stuff like that is kind of big in how we succeed as an offense and as a team. Like we had a game on Saturday, and our guys did an awesome job. It was a fall game against Gloucester County, the JUCO down in South Jersey, and our guys did an awesome job. Like line drive single, steal second base. We're using a fly ball to right field to move them over, and then we're getting them in with another single or a double or a ground ball up the middle and stuff like that. So I think that's how we have success at our field, and like I said, that's kind of been Seton Hall as far as I know it, for some playing here and now coaching here and stuff like that. Just guys who grind and get after it and hit balls as hard, 100-mile-an-hours liners at infielders' heads and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we have success.
Yeah. Real quick, just a side note, something that I don't think a lot of people understand or even like think about is what you mentioned about y'all playing at JUCO. When I went to a JUCO, I remember in the fall we were always playing like bigger D1 schools. We played Texas Tech, we played Abilene Christian, we played who's ever the big school locally. And that's a great way for JUCO players to get seen by, other universities when you're able to see them in game action. It's another way for recruiting. So just a side note for anybody out there listening that's thinking about JUCO or not, like you are getting to still play for the most part, depending on, I guess it depends on where you go, but you are able to play, 4-year schools in the fall. And a lot of 4-year schools like yourself will schedule a lot of JUCO games, I'm sure, just to get, some live action and stuff. So,
Yeah,
no, I appreciate you saying
no,
that. Go, go ahead.
I was talking to the third baseman on that team, and they every weekend they're playing a D1 this fall.
Yeah.
So they don't have kind of the restrictions we can't play more than X amount of outside competition games in the fall because then it takes away eligibility and all kinds of stuff for the spring. So we cap it at 2. We always play a JUCO, which is usually them, and then we'll play a local D1 team. This year we got FDU. Last year we had Fordham and stuff. So, but that Gloucester team, they played us Saturday. I think they were playing Monmouth yesterday. They're going to play Villanova at some point this fall. Like their weekends are just D1 teams in the area. They're going to them and playing them. So
definitely, because
they're very successful. They're a very successful JUCO. Like they've won their World Series and stuff a couple times and have gotten very far. So makes sense why they would want to fill their fall with D1 teams. But a lot of the JUCOs do these days, like you said, because it's just a way to get exposure for them.
It's a way to get exposure, and like you mentioned, there's not a lot of rules. JUCOs, I don't know if it's changed in the recent years, but definitely they carry more people on their team and on their roster than a D1 school. And so you're trying to get a lay of the land on like who you've got. So I remember that it would be like, all right, we're going to take 25 people to this game. And then tomorrow, this next group of 25 kids are going. And by the time you get to the fall, you've played, 30 innings. If you're a pitcher, you've gotten 20 innings on the mound, probably. Like you're somebody who can honestly say like, all right, the coaches have had a good look at me. And like, if I don't make the team or if I don't get the position that I want to start the season, like there's not really anybody to blame other than myself and like the output that I gave because I did get a ton of opportunities. So again, for anybody listening out there, JUCO baseball, great. I'm always an advocate as a JUCO bandit myself. Give it a look. There's so many great schools out there that'll help you not only develop as a player, but then get you to a school like Seton Hall University or any other school that your kid may be wanting to go to that they can't necessarily get to right out of college. So coming back out of high school, coming back to you guys and like your style of offense, I'm looking at your stats right now. It looks like you guys have one guy maybe hit double-digit home runs. He hit 16. That's a ton of home runs, first off. 16 home runs is a ton. But to kind of match you guys' style of offense, does that play a huge role in how you recruit kids then in high school? You're not necessarily looking for like the big thumpers, the big bats. You guys are looking for more of like the complete athlete who can run and steal bags and control the bat a little bit better. And you're not looking for a guy who maybe can leave the yard a couple of times but can strike out, some too.
No, yeah, 100%. I think we're always looking for kind of that complete guy, like you said. And it's hard to like, even if you find a big time bopper in the recruiting world, like more often than not, he might be committed somewhere big pretty soon. If he's putting up 2 homer games at Diamond Nation every time he's there and stuff like that. So we're definitely looking for that complete hitter, kind of the complete athlete, right? Someone who can run, someone who can be dynamic, play multiple positions. I'm sure you've talked to kids you work with and stuff like that, how important little things like that are, right? Be the shortstop that can also pop into center field or be the shortstop that can play second base and third base and stuff like that. Just be an athlete, I think is the big thing. So yeah, 100%.
Definitely. Yeah, you have to. I'm a big advocate of that too. I mean, get good at one position, like that's definitely going to help you. But the moment that you get to college, there's somebody else who might be better than you at that position, and if you sell out on that position, especially for shortstops, I think one of the hardest things to do, at least for me, was going from shortstop to third base. Like that's a whole new landscape over there, and you got to get comfortable seeing the ball. If you're a center fielder and you don't know how the ball plays in the gaps of the corner outfield positions, and you don't know how that read looks, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So even if you are the best center fielder on your team, it might not be a bad idea to just say, hey, coach, what do you think about me playing left today or right or whatever it may be, just to get some different looks so that you can set yourself up. So in the recruiting world, I think we kind of talked about it. I want to let you have, the time to really explain how y'all go about it, especially with everything that's going on with the portal and, high schoolers kind of maybe getting overlooked a little bit now. Like where do y'all turn for new recruits at Seton Hall? Y'all transfer heavy, portal heavy, or are you guys still going after high school? I know you guys are going after high school because I know there's some high schoolers that have signed, but majority right now, where do you think you guys are playing?
I think, like you said, the past couple of years have been pretty crazy and new territory for coaches and recruits to kind of figure out, all right, how are we going to go about this and stuff like that. I think what we've learned is we still got to go heavy with the high school recruits because that's kind of our bread and butter is getting the high school kids here and developing them and having them contribute early on. And then you kind of fill in the gaps from there with the transfer portal and kind of needs that way. I think, for instance, this year we brought in a decent amount of freshmen. We have a big sophomore class as well, so freshmen who were guys who were freshmen last year.
Yep.
So a good amount of younger kids on our team. And we also brought in some grad transfers to kind of help us with that experience and guys who have been around the block, played 3-4 years elsewhere, and they got one more year, who are really good players in their own right. So I think we've kind of learned that we need to go heavy with the high school recruits and develop them and have them contribute as early as they can because the portal's crazy. Like we're not gonna get, we don't have the money that some of these schools are throwing around to guys to get kids out of the portal for NIL or you name it.
Yep.
Unless they, some guy really really wants to come to Seton Hall. Most often than not, they're coming or they're going from mid majors to bigger.
Yeah.
And we've experienced that firsthand with some of our guys. So that's kind of we're really going heavy, especially this time of year, right? Because August 1st came and you're able to talk to them. Now September, October, you can have them visit on campus, or we have prospect camps that we hold and stuff like that. So really big on the high school guys still.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to be at the mid major. I think you still have to be, like you said, and develop them. Are you guys losing guys in the transfer portal as well? I mean, are you guys a school where a guy does well, hits 16 home runs, maybe hits 400, and then is looking to leave, or are y'all guys keeping them there? Or I guess what is the makeup of a player who does well right now at Seton Hall?
Yeah, no, we've been able to keep some guys like I said, that sophomore class. A bunch of them contributed as freshmen, and they're all back here. Like for instance, our Friday guy and stuff like that. He'll be on the bump for us again. We have lost some guys in the past, like last year. That kid who hit 16 homers for us. He's at Mississippi State right now. And our other
Mississippi State.
Our other big time guy is at Texas, Aiden Robbins. So those two guys left. But it's give and take, right? When you see some of the money and stuff like that that's been thrown at certain guys, I don't know. It's hard. I think we do a good job of our, like I said, our culture and tradition and guys wanting to play here, which is huge. Like I know that the one kid, I think it was actually like he was torn because he really loved being here and stuff like that. So it's tough. I'm sure every school kind of goes through the same thing, but I think for the most part, we have guys who want to be here and want to play for us, which is, I think we've done a good job at kind of creating that culture and team identity over the past couple of years of guys wanting to be here and stay here, right? And that's kind of, there is every once in a while there's going to be in Aiden Robbins that, obviously he's an awesome kid, awesome player. I mean, there's a reason I think I saw recently he was like number 40 on the draft board, something around there. So um, if he gets offered a lot of money or a lot of this, a lot of that, then you know, I guess it's hard to say no
Got to take it.
sometimes these days for these kids.
Yeah. Especially with nothing being guaranteed in sports, you're one injury away from your career going. Like it's really tough, especially depending on what your circumstances were growing up. Maybe you don't have a financial background like your family does, and that might be the only time for you to capitalize on what you're doing on the baseball field. So yeah, totally get it from those athletes' perspectives. It's interesting, and I'm curious to just get your take on like what do you do with that type of information, like obviously you'd love to have a kid like Aiden there, but it's just like, do you use that then as like marketing and be like, hey, we're pushing guys to big schools? Like, is that something that you're excited to share with people, or is it something that like you're just like, oh man, that's again, obviously you'd love to have them there, but like, how do you use that to your benefit, I guess, or do you?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I guess it could go both ways, right? You can look at it as sort of a positive because you worked with a kid for a year or two, and now look at where he's at now or what he's become and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you want the best players on your own team, so you don't, for I don't think we wouldn't go into say recruiting a big time high school player and be like, hey man, come to us for a year or two and then we'll get you ready to go to wherever. Like we don't
Yeah,
want that. We want someone to
yeah,
be like, nope, I'm going to stay at Seton Hall for 3 years and I'm going to be a third round pick at a Seton Hall because I've seen it uh, done in the past. Obviously the Big East has a really, people look at the Big East as a basketball conference stuff, but the baseball over the years has been awesome in the Big East. There's so many draft picks and so many guys who've gone on to have huge major league careers. George Springer hit a homer last night. He was hitting homers for UConn against Seton Hall 10 years ago and stuff like that. So, um,
yeah.
we want guys who we're recruiting and they want to be here and get drafted or play 4 years, really good 4 years here.
Yep. Talking about being, guys getting drafted out of there, you obviously being one of them. Like, what do you see from your own perspective of like getting through 4 years of college and then hearing your name called, and then having seen, recruits now come to Seton Hall and get drafted out of there? Like, what is the difference in your eyes between a high school senior who's got the tools and the ability to compete at the college level and then hear their name called compared to a guy who's got the same talent and ability that goes through 4 years and then they don't necessarily have the career that they want, and then they look back and their year's over by maybe sophomore junior year and it's on to the next recruit? What's the separator in your eyes?
Uh, well, I guess I don't know. Like these days, I'm sure you would agree with me. Like kids coming out of high school are so much better than they were. Even just go back
Ridiculous.
when we were in
Skill wise though,
skill wise. Yeah, man.
but
Like
not
they're
everything else though, I feel like
no,
is
yeah, definitely. So I'd say that's kind of the big thing is just the mental side of the game, right? I think you probably played with guys. I played with guys in the Mariner system that they were unbelievable talent wise and might have gotten drafted really high out of high school. And man, by like game 60 of that 140 something game minor league season, they're just spiraling, right? Um, so I think college kind of gives you that mental side of the game to help prepare you for that kind of stuff. Obviously we're not playing 140 some odd games, but you're come March, April, May, you're playing 5 games a week. You're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, have off Thursday, and you're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
but then if you
in
double
terms of
down
the
on summer ball in college, you are starting to rack up the number of games depending
right
on what league you go. You are
for sure,
playing, I definitely in my years of college baseball played well over 100 games between spring and summer baseball. So it
yeah,
is,
for sure. So you're training yourself for that mental grind of man, I'm 0 for my last 9 as a hitter. How do I go 1 for 1 this next AB? And some guys can used college and the years in college, like you said, summer ball and in our college season, even right now, our fall ball, we're scrimmaging, you know, Thursday, Friday, and we might play Gloucester on Saturday. You got 3 games in a row. How are you gonna compete every day like you're 0 for 0? So I think that's a big part of it. And like I'll go back to it earlier. Like some of these high school kids, skill wise, are just unbelievable
They're nasty.
nowadays.
They're
like
nasty.
I don't think I like looking at me as a senior in high school compared to some of the freshmen we get here. Like they're men. I was like a scrawny little kid. My first like real workout in Seton at the Seton Hall, student athlete gym with the strength coach. I was sore for 3 weeks after that. These kids go in there and they're like, "Give me more." That was easy. So that part of it's kind of wild to see. And I'm sure, like I said, you probably got a taste of that too. Getting drafted out of college, but then seeing some of the high school kids in the system, the farm system, and you're like, "Whoa, that's." I didn't look like that as a 19-year-old.
No chance, man.
But like we just talked about, the mental side of it is just that's something you got to just learn from experience with.
Yeah. Two high school kids that I played with in the Orioles system, they were both drafted as our first round draft picks back-to-back years. One kid, DL Hall, he's currently pitching in the postseason with the Brewers, lefty, threw 95 to 100. And then another kid, you probably faced him, dude. He was on our team when we played you guys, is Grayson Rodriguez. This kid was throwing 100 coming out of high school.
He was disgusting.
I'm over here 23 years old, working my ass off. And this kid, not that he didn't work hard at all, but this kid just 18 years old throwing 100. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, with the ability to spin it, mix it, grip a ball. Hey, I think I want to learn a screwball today. Oh, 4 pitches in, got a screwball. I'm like, what in the heck is happening, dude?
It was very, a bad day when he was on the mound.
Bad day for sure.
That was probably the first guy I would say that. I remember we played you guys early that year in 2019, and that was like the first guys were coming back to the dugout. Like I don't know what that was. That was fastball 102, slider 86, changeup 78, and I didn't know what was happening.
He had like a legit 5-pitch mix. I think he threw a cutter, a 4-seam, a 12-6 curveball, a changeup, and I want to say there was another pitch in there, maybe a slider. I think he also threw a slider. Right? That's some big league stuff right there. And then, oh, by the way, coming to close it in, the big mountain, Felix Bautista. Good luck. Yeah. He's another 102, 103 miles an hour. Ridiculous squad. MILB team of the year that year.
Yeah, you guys were unbelievable.
Representing. Quick, just side story here. What was it like playing with Julio Rodriguez? What's that guy like?
Oh, he was different. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, you were around guys. I was around guys that just, I don't know, man. They're just.
He's different though. I got a chance to play with like Adley Rutschman. That was great. For a brief extent there, so I got to see him kind of go through his process. But you spent a whole season with that dude, or a good portion of time with that dude.
Yeah, I don't know. It just I think he was like 19 that season.
Yeah,
and just the way he like BP. I don't know. Like you hear the cliche, like, oh, it sounds different. Like, no, that kid actually, that bat sounded different. The way he would barrel up the baseball and just hit balls 110 miles an hour, like oppo, over the right fielder's head. You're like, whoa. And he was like the complete play. Like he was like made in a lab or something. His arm was incredible from center field. He could run, I don't know if he ever ran a 60, but he'd probably run like a 6'4", 60, maybe even faster. Yeah. Like, I don't know. He was different. And such a big dude. Like, you might not realize it watching on TV. Dude, he's like 6'3" and jacked.
Oh.
And he was as like a 19-year-old. Like, I'm
he was, bro. Bro, I had to face this man. This man stepped in. I'm like, I didn't even as you're coming up through the minors, you're not really paying attention to like who else is out there. You kind of hear some like murmurs of like some guys on some teams, but you're focused on your career. Obviously, you're trying to like get to the next level, and then all of a sudden you're like, who the hell is this guy? And they're like, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
he's like a top prospect, not just in the Mariners, but like in the league. And I'm like, no kidding, like this dude is unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in a brief stint. So yeah, interesting that you got to play with him. What separates a guy like that? Like why at 19 is that guy different than Ryan Ramiz at 19, or some of these other kids who you're getting? Is it just pure like makeup of the body? He's just matured. Like he's got more plate discipline. Like where does he get his advantages from?
I guess just the tools, right? I guess some guys are just, gifted those tools that are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was just a way better baseball player than 95% of guys in that league at that time, right? I don't know where it comes from. He was, I will say from what I remember, like he was pretty mature mentally for like a 19-year-old kid coming to the U.S. Like I think he might have lived in Arizona maybe for a year before that. So he like coming to a new country, and he was pretty mentally mature for a guy like that. And he was that guy who, like I've been talking about, you could be 0 for 4 and he would get up for his 5th at bat, and it was like, I don't know, like he didn't care. Like he would go yard. And
dude, I think it's just a cultural thing too, man. I think those guys who are living in Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, I don't know, like there are some guys who you come across that like they're not really that excited to be on the baseball field, but more times than not, every single one of my teammates who is from either DR or Puerto Rico or Venezuela, wherever they're from as an international player, they're just excited to be able to play baseball here in the United States and not having to live back home. And so I don't know, I guess, what that does to a player mentally over the course of years when you've seen like, the way that they live and the way that they go about their practices and they're playing on dirt fields and whatnot. And then they finally come over here and they're in a professional organization where, guys who are coming, not saying it's a Seton Hall thing, but Seton Hall has got great facilities. The facilities at some of these schools are magnificent. Then you go into a pro organization, you're like, what is this dump? Like, get out of here, man. I had way better stuff at college. And these guys are like coming in like, wow, dude, this is top end stuff. And they're just grateful. So I would have to imagine that's a big thing. And then with where the game is going, man, with so many international players, like curious what your take is on how that's happening, why that's happening. Like, why do you feel like the MLB game as a whole is getting more international heavy compared to like homegrown talent?
I don't know. I'd imagine, just like you said, the culture in some of those countries are just so baseball heavy. Like those guys live it and dream about it every single day. Not that we didn't growing up. I grew up in New Jersey. I wanted to be a major leaguer, but maybe just because there's so, kids growing up in the States have so much other things they could do or be involved in, play other sports, which I think is great. Like I said earlier, in terms of recruiting, like, man, if you can play multiple sports and be a sick athlete in other sports, like that's only going to help you on the baseball field. But I don't know, maybe some of those kids in those other countries, it's the way of life, right? Like baseball is just, that's it for them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Heavy on the training side over there, man. There's a lot of good articles I've been reading about like just the amount of training that goes on compared to the amount of games. And here in the States, all we do is play games all the time. The training
right.
And the balance is off there. But then you get a kid who maybe trains only and has never really pitched in that many big time situations because they haven't played that many games. So then you get a guy in the States who's been in the Little League World Series and pitched in those and been in a high school state championship game and been in those situations and can navigate those a little bit more mentally. But, there's so many different theories on like what's happening between, American style baseball and the international style baseball, but we'll leave that there. Kind of coming back into Seton Hall baseball, when you're looking at some of these recruits that you're going out and getting, like what stands out to you? What are you looking for? Body size, arm speed, 60, like what is a prototypical Seton Hall, high school recruit look like in y'all's eyes?
Yeah, I mean, listen, all that stuff matters, right? Like we're all looking at, like you said, the 60 time, how big, how strong they are, how they take BP. All that stuff is super important and kind of what makes you want to recruit a guy. But then beyond that, maybe you have 20 guys that fit that criteria for you, but then how's their makeup? How are they academically? Everything that guys in your world and our college baseball world talk about every time you're at a camp or something like that. But it really does matter. Like we talk to their travel coaches, their high school coaches. How would this guy fit in here? Um, Especially in this area, like, a lot of the travel coaches, the high school coaches know us or they know the program. Hey, this guy is awesome. He'll fit in your team, your program, your culture. He'll be awesome for you. Or this guy, maybe, he might be a little bit of a wild card. I don't know, kind of thing. So I think beyond the metrics and physical tools that we all see, it's those little things that help separate kids and kind of what we look at beyond, um, like you said, the 60s, the BP, the arm velos, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then, when does the window kind of open up for you guys? When are you guys really, looking at recruits, whether it be, your 2027 class, 2028 class? Like, give us a timeline on when you guys really start to turn focus from one class to the next, and when you guys kind of like to have your recruiting classes done. Because I think that's always a big question for a lot of these parents is like, well, when do I need to start, reaching out to coaches? When do I need to start getting in front of coaches? When do I need to be seen? They don't want to be too early because I think a lot of these kids maybe aren't mature enough physically yet and they need to,
Sure.
build on it, and you only get one shot to have a first impression. But you don't want to be too late either. And, maybe they've already got their guy who's going to play right field for them. And you could have been a good fit, but you didn't show up in time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, especially the last like month or so. I think the for us mid majors, it maybe has moved back slightly, and like where this summer, a lot of schools like us and stuff, we're still looking at 26s this summer. Um, we had a couple spots for 26s and stuff like that. It wasn't like I'd say a year or two ago where maybe a school gets 10, 20, 25 recruits on September 15th of 2025 and like they're not really looking at them going into their senior summer. So I think now, like just say this summer, for instance, we're still looking at 26s who were uncommitted because there were a lot of them, really good 2026s that were still uncommitted. Um, Now, once August, fall comes, you're kind of looking towards the 27 class. Who do we offer right away? Kind of stuff like that. And also, I would say for 28s who will be coming up next August, maybe this fall, and then especially early on next summer, that's a good time to maybe pick a couple camps that you'd like to go to and kind of like I don't like if I'm really interested. If I'm a 28 from Morristown, New Jersey, and Seton Hall is like my top three school. Not like I'm not plugging our camp in any, but like
Oh,
maybe
plug it, baby. Plug it. You got to go to
no,
these camps. It's
maybe
parents, you got to go to the
I
camps
go
if your kid
to
wants to get seen.
if Seton Hall and St. John's and Rutgers are my top three, and I'm a 2028 this fall, I plan out going to one of their camps over the next 6 months or so. That way, I'm on the radar for when summer comes around next year, and us, for instance, will be probably looking at finishing up our 27 class next summer, and also getting ready for the end of next summer and the fall of 28.
Yeah.
So I think
If you
it's a very fluid process. Like obviously the bigger schools they might right now have their 2027 class for they're good.
yeah.
Maybe there's one spot next summer or they're filled, whatever. We're kind of starting that process with having visits and talking to guys and offering some guys and kind of going through that process now in this fall. So
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I
It
just talked
changes
to
all.
Yeah, I just talked to Yale last week. I put that on the thing. They're already done with their 2027 class, so it's just different. You know how it's just interesting how different, even at the
Right.
D1 level on the same playing field, like how people go about their you know uh, recruiting process. And
For
so, where are you
sure.
finding these guys at? Like you said, you don't want to plug your camp, but the more coaches I talk to, like again, I think people have a negative association with like college camps. Maybe they feel like their kid's not getting looked at or they're getting overlooked. And like, why am I spending all this money? But the more coaches I talk to, it's just like, well, 70% of the kids that are on our roster came to our camp. 60% of the kids that are on our roster came to our camp at one point, or something like that. So, like, you guys are finding kids at these camps. It's not like you're just like, hey, come to our camp, and oh, by the way, we're just going to go pick out every kid from the top 10 in PBR, perfect game ranking, or whoever we can find in Georgia or Florida or North Carolina, wherever it may be. But no, you guys are using those camps to your advantage. Talk about like how y'all find your kids.
No, 100%, dude. Like our camps have been huge. I don't know the specific number for us, but I would say it's over 75%. I would put it in the 80s maybe of kids who have come to a camp here or like a prospect camp or even have come with their travel teams for team camps and stuff like that. Like you've been a part of, I know in the past where teams come here and they play games on our field and kind of get a little bit of that Seton Hall experience. It's huge for us. Like we had in September our first prospect camp. A couple days after that, we had a spot left for a 26 arm, and it was a kid from camp. Hopped on the mound. He threw 2 innings for us. Did a little bullpen session. Boom, 26 Smith. So it's huge getting kids on campus, and that's one thing like you said. I think it does have maybe a little bit of a negative connotation with it, but every time I go to a showcase or a camp, or there's a spot where I'm talking to parents or recruits, I always tell them like, hey, if you're not going to just say your list of top 5 schools, picking out one of their camps to go to, like you're doing it wrong because that's you need to go to those. Like I said, if you're a 2028 and Virginia Tech is in your top 5 of schools, and that's actually a realistic school for you based on talking to travel coaches and stuff like that, you should go to their camp because you're going to
Yep.
get on the radar and get in the recruiting world and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, man, it's huge. I couldn't agree more with everything you just said about conversations you've had with other coaches and stuff like that.
So if I'm a parent of a kid, the ability level doesn't matter, right? The ability level doesn't matter. You figure that out on your own. Talk to college coaches or high school coaches. Talk to your travel ball coaches. It doesn't matter. We're talking now about just like the strategy of it. Like, what is the strategy? Is it playing travel ball and trying to go to the biggest showcases possible? Is it trying to have the best high school career possible and using your high school coach? Is it going to just team specific camps that you want to go to? Like, where, if you have a son, let's say for instance you have a son, you're walking him through the recruiting process, knowing what you know now, like what is your strategy from, you know, January 1 to December 31st of, his sophomore and junior year?
Yeah. Oof. I feel like that's a loaded question, but um, I think the development is huge, which these kids, like we've kind of talked about, are getting for the most part with their travel organization stuff. Like I said, their skills are unbelievable these days. So they're developing in the weight room, in the cages, hitting more than they've ever done, and stuff like that. And then yeah, I think I would if it was my kid, sit them down. Let's make a list of your top schools you'd be interested in, realistic ones. If I'm a parent who may be maybe not as knowledgeable in the realm, you're talking to someone like you, talking to your travel coach, talking to your high school coach. Where do you think my son fits in? Is he a D1? Is he D2? Is he D3? Um, if he's D1, I think for the most part, people who are like top D1 level know that they're top D1 level.
Yep.
So if you're in that mid-major category, then yeah, I'm picking out my top couple schools, figuring out when they have camps. I'm telling my travel coach like, hey, if you have a good relationship with their coaches, can you put Johnny on their radar or whoever their son is? Um, and I'm getting that exposure from the travel coaches, the high school coaches, and also, like I said, trying to get on their campus with a camper or something of that nature, and kind of going about it that way. Not, I know a lot of these travel organizations go to Florida and Texas, who knows where, but man, the amount of if you're in the Northeast, the amount of baseball in our area, like Diamond Nation, I know
Yeah,
you know
love
about
it.
it. Those big 2 weeks at the end of June, I think they are, and then sort of at the end of July, there's a big week there. Like there are tons of college coaches that go to those
Yeah,
things. So yeah,
if that's where you're trying to play, you gotta again
right.
have
If
an
you're
idea.
like I said,
If you're
if you
not trying
grew
to
up
play
in
up north,
right,
you gotta
if
you
you
got
grew
to
up in
sometimes you gotta go
Morristown,
somewhere.
you go to St. John's, Seton Hall camp, you play at Diamond Nation, you ask your travel coach to put you on our radar, and you kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. And for those people that listen that are going to call me to put in a good word for them, your kid better, you know, be a good human being, better do all their work, better be a good student. I'm your friend as a coach, as a trainer. You got coaches, you got all these people who are nice and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if I pick up the phone and I call, for example, my buddy here, Ryan, I better not give him a bag of piling, steaming shit. It better be a good recommendation. Otherwise, he is no longer going to listen to my recommendations, and the kids that come behind him are going to have zero value in his eyes because he's going to be like, well, Matt doesn't even know how to give me a good player. So remember that, your coaches who you work with, your high school travel trainers, all that stuff, they're probably all plugged in somewhere, somehow, and can get you in the door. But don't think that they're just going to, call a coach just because you're their buddy. Your kid still has to have all of that kind of makeup and build to him. A couple more questions, man. I'll let you go here. Three things right now that a high school baseball player can work on and get to right now to kind of enhance their chances of getting recruited.
Um, I mean, we've kind of touched on a lot of it so far. Just weight room, making sure they're taking care of their bodies, and part of that too could be learning about nutrition for the first time.
Yep.
As they're coming through high school. Like me, for example, I had no idea what I was doing nutrition wise in terms of gaining. I needed to gain weight. How did I do that? Whatever. It wasn't until I was here at Seton Hall to kind of learn about that stuff. So. The weight room, learning your body, and working on your skills, I would say is second thing. Obviously, like I don't think the way I went about it in high school, I worked hard, but I think these kids work 10 times harder these days. So doing what you think, for instance, if you think you should be the top shortstop ranked on PBR, but you're number 8 right now, what do you think that number 1 kid is doing? And kind of working to that level, right? So and we talk about that at the college level too. If you're the shortstop for our team and you want to be the best shortstop in the Big East, okay, well, what is the shortstop for UConn, St. John's, Creighton's? What are they doing in their downtime? Are they hitting the weight room as hard as you? Are they taking care of their bodies like you are, or are you taking care of your bodies like them, and kind of stuff like that? So I think comparing yourself isn't, everything's a comparison these days with social media and stuff like that. But you can use that as fuel also to be like, all right, I'm number 9 on PBR right now or whatever. Not that that should even matter, but I'm going to work like I'm the best shortstop in New Jersey. And then like you said, I guess the third thing would just be all the off the field stuff. Are you being a good kid? Are you taking care of your work academically? Are like just be a good person, to your coaches, to your teachers, to whoever, because all that matters, man. Like that, like we talked about. If if you call me up and you have a kid for me, and then I meet him and I'm like, that kid is not a good dude. I'm gonna call you up and be like, hey man, why is don't be telling me about a kid who's just not gonna fit in here, kind of thing. So, um, yeah, that was kind of a long-winded answer, but I
No,
would say
all good.
all that stuff kind of comes into play.
Definitely, definitely. And then last question here, it's more for the parents. What are, three things, or it doesn't have to be three things, just what are some things that parents can do to help support their kids, especially the parents who are maybe going through this for the first time, who didn't play any type of ball themselves, have no idea what the recruiting landscape looks like, and they're just like, wow, I've got a gifted kid who keeps telling me he wants to go to college, but I have zero idea how to navigate this.
Yeah, I think that's what you just said is kind of like, man, just support your kids, support your kid. I think that's huge. Like, don't be the parent who, after they're putting pressure on your kid because you want them to get recruited and stuff, you want the best for them, but there's a lot of kids who feel pressure these days. Like I just talked about, like social media, compare all that stuff can weigh on kids. So just be that supportive parent, I think, is huge. Like, and just try your best to get your information from sources that you've heard or you think are reputable, good sources. Like, you know, uh, Matt De La Rosa. I'm plugging you right now, but like, get your sources
Not
or
paid to say that. Not paid to say that, everybody.
get your info from guys or people that you can trust, and you feel like they have your kids' interest in mind as well, and they're not just you're not just a paycheck for them. I guess you could say, which these days there is a lot of that going on. So and also too, like, out recruiting, don't be afraid to come up and have a conversation with a college coach. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times,
Who are the
like,
parents?
the parents, yeah, man, like
Oh
I don't,
wow. Okay. Okay.
I've been, I'm not saying, I'm not
Now
saying,
he's like, yo, I'm about to get
no, 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 no,
everybody
no,
can talk to
because
me.
there's been a lot of times where parents will come up at Diamond Nation or whatever, ask a question, and then we talk for 5-10 minutes, and it's a really good conversation, and they're like, oh wow, like, thank you so much. I didn't realize that, or I didn't whatever. So, um, don't be afraid of that as well. Like, I'm sure guys don't like that. Some college
Yeah, I
coaches.
feel like it's very skewed. I feel like it would be.
Um,
I feel like there'd be more coaches sitting in the camp of like, "Don't come talk to me about your kid." There's a
yeah,
lot of like feel. I'm sure that goes into it. Like
right, right. I guess that's a
yeah,
good way of putting it. Like, if you've been around it for a little bit and kind of have that feel, it might not even be specifically about your kid. You might just have a conversation and end it with, "Oh, by the way, my son's number 7 there," and then all of a sudden I'm going to be like, "Oh, that guy was a really nice guy. Let me check out number 7 real quick," kind of
yeah.
thing. So,
Definitely. Yeah. I think you got to lead without plugging your kid. Hey, what's going on,
yeah,
Ryan? My kid's number 7 out there, man. You guys
right,
looking for, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Got to kind of come in sly and then feel like, all right, now he's cool, dude. All right, my kid's number 7. All right, have a great day. And then walk away. Yeah. Don't keep plugging your kid. That's one way to get number 7 crossed off the list. No, man, you've been great with your time, dude. I really, really appreciate it. Where can people get in touch with you? Obviously, you're in the recruiting stages right now. So if a kid's listening to this right now, it's like, yo, Coach Ramiz, he's the dog. I want to
Yep.
play for him.
Well, obviously, like, my email's on the website. It's just my name at shu.edu. All of our emails and stuff like that are on the website, which is big. And then social media is huge. Like, I've mentioned it a couple of times, whether I think I mentioned it a couple of times in a negative fashion, but in a positive light, social media is big. Send DMs to coaches, following them, trying to get on their radar that way. So, I would say maybe sometimes sending a DM will have a better success rate than sending just a blind email to 25 different coaches. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
uh, that's a way
I'll
too.
put
Like,
your I'll put your Twitter. You're mainly on X for baseball purposes, or are you finding kids on
Yeah,
Instagram?
X. Yeah, sometimes on Instagram, kids follow me and stuff like that. But Twitter's pretty big, so.
Yeah, I'll put his information down below if you're listening to this anywhere on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever it is. I'll put his contact information in there. Just as a quick tip, too, for the parents or the kids out there, if a coach follows you back, one of the easiest ways to get things going is just to immediately just send them a DM and just say thanks for the follow, and then insert whatever message you want to send out there to them. They're following you for a reason. I think a lot of the kids that I talk to, they'll get a follow and they'll be so excited, and then they'll say, Coach so and so from this school followed him. I'm like, well, what'd you tell him? Nothing. Like, don't be afraid to just be like, hey, thanks for the follow, even if that's all it is. It might be from a school that your kid doesn't even want to go to, but guess what? These college coaches, just like the players nowadays, like they'll move around from place to place. They're working up their ladder. So, coach from no name JUCO who followed your son, in 2025, and your kid's at 2028, might be coach assistant at Baylor University now. And, he's already built that relationship with them. So just keep building relationships. And outside of just getting recruited, the relationships that these kids build, you don't know what they'll turn into off the field as well. The amount of relationships that I've built through baseball that are now helping me in my life outside of baseball is ridiculous. So be building relationships, help your kids with that. I would say that's the biggest message from me on my side. Ryan, you've been so generous with your time, man. I really, really appreciate it. Good luck to all things Seton Hall. Keep killing it over there. Looking forward to seeing y'all's big year in 2026. And for everybody out there, make sure you make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.